Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all over the world. Dobson 777A here. I wanted to put together a video to show you the progress I'm making where I've been basically terraforming this hill on the side of my house. This has been a project for me. I did part of the hill last year planting potatoes, and this year I wanted to finish the whole thing. So I rototilled a large section over the last couple weeks and started planting some blueberries and blackberries and everything, and it's all starting to come together. So I wanted to show you the progress of how you can do this yourself. I'm not a professional gardener, but I just can see how to learn how to do things, and I just figure it out as I go. And I'm trying to encourage you to do the same. This particular rototiller is something I just got from Home Depot. It's a PowerMate. I think it's a 212cc. I bought it last fall, maybe 600 bucks. Top of my head, I'm not sure, but I mean that's the only relatively expensive thing that I've needed for this job. The rest of it is I had an electric rototiller that I used. It was $200, and the rest is just axes for roots and shovels. You need shovels, to kind of dig some edges and, some repairs along the way. You'll see I found some wildlife that I had to dispose of, and on and on and on. So anyways, I hope you enjoy the video. This is real life stuff as I like terraform my homestead.
So we've been rototilling this. I just did it for about an hour. And I got my friend Todd out here doing it now. And this is tough because it's on a hill. And we got a bunch of stumps that we ground. And we're getting into some roots and rocks and stuff. But it's actually looking pretty doggone good. Now we haven't amended this soil at all. But man, it looks pretty doggone rich. And this is just I think it's called PowerMate from Home Depot. And it's just powering through this thing like it's nothing. I'm pretty happy with this. Now, we did not get rid of the grass before we did this, so this is not always recommended, but I'm just going to keep working it. We got to level this thing out a little bit, but this is a pretty big area that we're doing. I can't really go down any further because it drops off so quick, but this thing's neat because it's got forward and reverse. I should be helping him. I just wanted to give you an idea what this thing does. I'm going to have a couple rows of sweet potatoes down at this lower level, and probably my watermelons and cantaloupes, so they can have plenty of room to grow. You got to wrestle this thing though, quite a bit for turns and everything. It kicks up big rocks. I'll tell you, this will spoil you having something like this. This makes short work of this versus my little electric one that I use for my beds. Yeah, I think we'll just keep coming down here and hitting these spots. I did another spot up here where we're going to plant a bunch of blueberries. Boy, this is really uneven footing. So we kind of roughed this in, trying to flatten it out a little bit. I got about 6 blueberry plants, and I think I'm going to plant a few more, make a big row here. All right, so yesterday we started rototilling this fairly large area here. And today we got to rake out the grass that we've rototilled up. And I also did a couple long sections here and got to rake that out. And I'm going to try to dig it out a little bit more and make it a little more level. But this is where I'm going to plant my blueberries, right in this area. A whole row of blueberries. And then we got to finish weeding this area here, and then we're going to mulch it in. But that's going to be a pretty big planting area there. It's about 30 foot wide. And let's see, I probably did about 25 feet down the hill. So that's a pretty good planting area. All right, here we are up close and personal. This is actually working out really well. What I did was rototilled a little bit more, and then I've come in and I've raked the majority of the grass down to the lower level. And I'm going to keep kind of working this because I want to try to make a flat spot up here and then another flat spot right here, so I kind of terrace this as it comes down. But that takes a lot of passes. But you know, right now it's like 50 degrees first thing in the morning, so it's a good time to kind of work this thing. And then I got a friend coming here in about 20 minutes, and I'm going to have him, while I'm rototilling this, kind of raking it down to the next level, and we'll build the terrace that I want. It'll be a lot easier for working in the future having it terraced. I just hope the rain kind of keeps it that way. My potato hill up there got quite a bit of erosion because we just had torrential rain, so I'm going to have to go back and throw some cow manure back on top. But this looks like fairly rich soil already. I'm still going to amend it because you can't really tell when it's damp. This could just be regular clay, but it looks like it's enriched with all kinds of stuff. Maybe it's just leaves over the years breaking down into the soil. But anyways, this is hard work first thing tomorrow. Already working up a sweat. All right, so I'm down here at my black gold reservoir. I've been digging out rabbit manure, and we've been transporting it to my new rototilled terraced field that we did yesterday. It's very treacherous walking here, by the way. So what I'm doing is I'm taking 4 or 5 gallon buckets and making piles here. So this bottom level is going to be my 4 sisters experiment. Go back to do what the Indians used to do: corn, beans, and squash. Now I'm setting up some rows up here at the top, and I'm going to do my sweet potatoes. And then I've got another, so I'll probably have 3 rows of sweet potatoes up here. Something's eating me alive. So you can see I made these things about 5 or 6 feet wide, so I'm going to make rows here of the rabbit manure, and I'm going to plant my sweet potatoes in those. All right, I've still got a couple days before we get some rain, but I thought I'd come out here and flatten down my mounds and plant the first 4 mounds with corn. And it's actually a fairly simple process. You need to make 6 holes. You can see the distance that I have here, and if you look down in there, I've got a corn kernel in each one of these. You push it down about an inch to 1.5 inches, close to the center of the mound. That one's not very centered. That's not very centered either. Oh well, I'm probably going to be adding more manure around here as I add my next plants anyways. These are supposed to be about 2.5 feet in diameter. But anyways, I've got these first ones done. Now I have 4 more mounds here that I'm going to wait 2 weeks before I plant my corn. Because you think about this, I got 24 stalks that are going to be coming up here, which you're going to have 1 to 2 ears per stalk. And they kind of suggested to spread out your harvest. So I think I'll wait 2 weeks and then do these. But I'm going to go ahead and make 4 more mounds up here, and I'm going to go ahead and plant my watermelons and cantaloupes because I already have some plants ready to go. Which means I've got a whole bunch of... I've been contemplating going and put my watermelon and cantaloupes in between, but I think what I want to do is I'm going to keep my tall stuff towards the bottom of the hill so that there's less shading. So this where I'll put my watermelons and cantaloupe, and then I'm going to have sweet potatoes above there, and then I've got some dwarf fruit cocktail trees that I'm not sure how tall they're going to get over time, but it shouldn't be too much shading, so we'll watch. And then I've got blueberries above that, and then potatoes way up on the steep part of the hill. So I think right now I need to get about 16 more buckets of manure so I can go ahead and plant my watermelons and cantaloupes today. But right now we put the corn in the ground. So I got those seeds planted on the first ones. I'm going to go ahead and close up the holes. And then we wait a couple weeks when the corn gets a certain height, and then I can plant my beans. And then shortly thereafter I can plant the squash. And that's kind of the process. So you got to wait for the corn to get tall enough to be able to start supporting the beans. Which means I've already sprouted some beans and I don't have corn sprouted yet, so I'll probably have to put the beans in the front yard or give some of those plants away. That's the way it works. But I got lots of, and you're supposed to use the climbing beans, not bush beans, so we're going to use pole beans. It's my favorite. And I'm hoping this will work well. So you end up creating your own trellis using the corn itself. It's a symbiotic type relationship. The beans will put nitrogen back in the soil, and I'm going to use an inoculant. I did that last year and it seemed like it made the beans much more prolific. So I've got the inoculant coming in the mail. Now I also plan to add some sunflowers down here. I heard that the sunflowers help with the pollination, and it also give the birds something to work on rather than your corn. So that's what we'll find out, if that really works or not. Sunflowers are absolutely beautiful anyway, so I can't wait to get them in the garden. Chickens want to get in here because I had them in here for a couple weeks helping clear out the ground, and I blocked them off now that I got my plantings going. We had quite a few seed potatoes left over that I'd cut up, so we decided to put them down here with the sweet potatoes. So we're going to do one row of seed potatoes, and then we'll have 2 rows of sweet potatoes right next to each other. I don't know if I'm planting these too close together, but I think it'll be fine. I gotta go get some of the fertilizer put on there now. So a couple days ago, we transplanted 4 blueberry plants and planted 3 brand new blueberry plants. Now these blueberry plants are a little bit different in that they like an acidic type soil. So when you plant these things, we dug a hole twice as big as the plants themselves. Sorry, dang chickens are getting in the eggs. They're fighting over the hen or the egg laying box. But anyways, there's this. We dug the hole bigger, put some cow manure down in the bottom. Then I used this soil acidifier, and this works for my hydrangeas as well. If you know these big snowballs, people call them, but you can have like a pink colored hydrangea, you can have a blue color, and I think it's even white. So it depends on how acidic you make the soil. That changes the color of the flowers. But anyways, we put a little bit of this in there. We then put the plant in the hole, and then we fill it up the rest of the way with cow manure. And then I love things that work for multiple things, but there's this fertilizer called Hollytone. I got this at Home Depot, and this works fantastic for all of my azaleas and blueberries specifically. So you put some of that on there. Now the blueberries, according to the instructions, you only have to fertilize in early spring, which is what I've done. And because I transplanted 4 of these, it's very possible I won't get hardly any fruit out of those 4. But hopefully the ones I just got from the store. In fact, I think I see some fruits already. Let's look at this. Those are future blueberries right there. So they've already dropped their flowers. You can see the flowers right here. And there's blueberries on there already. So these are the new ones that I just bought. I think those are these 3 in a row. And then I've got these other 4 other ones I transplanted. So we'll see what happens. Normally you shock the crap out of them when you transplant. Now I've still got some blackberries that I need to get in the ground. I had a whole bunch of blackberries last year, and I just did not keep up with them, and I ended up losing them. So we're starting over again. And I'm going to try to think of a really good spot for these where I can keep track of them. I'm thinking about along this fence line over here, but I need to keep it away from the fence so the chickens don't eat a lot of the berries. So I'm probably going to use a raised cattle panel. But these fruit cocktail trees are really slick because, you know, I have plum, pear, peach, apple, seem like a couple other things. But anyways, each one of those trees has 5 different types. So it'll be 5 different types of apples, 5 different types of plums, 5 different types of pears, that kind of thing. And so that's going to be pretty slick. In Florida, we had fruit cocktail trees, but they were citrus. So you'd have orange, tangelo, lemon, all on one tree. It was pretty cool. Oh yeah, I forgot the last thing I did is I put a bag of mulch around my blueberries. Try to control the moisture, keep the moisture retention. Now the other thing is, you notice when we dug the hole, we put the dirt kind of backstopped because this is on a hill, and then that'll allow the moisture kind of get trapped there by the plant when it rains. All right, here's my garden. This is about 30 by 120 feet. And we haven't got it all prettied up yet, but we're working on it. So pretty soon we'll have that center area where all my miniature fruit trees, they're fruit cocktail trees, we'll have that all weeded and mulched also, just like the blueberries we just did here. And that bottom area is all my rabbit manure that we put in. So I've got a couple different types of potatoes, and I'm going to have watermelon, cantaloupe, and 3 sisters planted. That was a lot of buckets of rabbit manure that we put in there. I need to get my sweet potatoes planted, but we're going to have a couple nights down in the 40s here, which that's a little too cold for my sweet potato plants unless I put a cover on them. All right, so I had a little change of plans for my 3 sisters. Originally I was going to plant this row of corn and then wait 2 weeks and plant that row of corn, because each one of these dung piles has potential for 6 stalks. And the theory is if you wait 2 weeks, you don't have to harvest everything all at the same time. Well, that's actually kind of a pain in the butt with gardening when you're starting other things from seeds. Everything kind of needs to get ready and moving. So I decided to go ahead and plant this other row. Now I did some research, and it said throw a little 10-10-10 on the pile, so I've done that. We're going to have a good rain tomorrow all day, so I'm trying to get everything going. Now let me tell you, this is a sweet smell of rabbit manure here in the morning. Now what I've done is I've come over here and I got 5 more piles that I'm planting cantaloupe and watermelon. Now there's different fertilization requirements for these. So the 3 center ones are going to be watermelon, the 2 outer ones are going to be cantaloupe. And the watermelon, you start with like a 10-10-10, and then you got to change to a lower nitrogen content later. But cantaloupes, you start with more like the vegetable fertilizer. So it's like a 5-10-10 or something. I've got that rainbow that I talked about earlier. So anyways, I've got some plants already pre-started cantaloupe, and I'm going to put 3 of them over here in this pile, and then 3 down there. And then I've got a few watermelons started, and I brought the seeds with me to go ahead and plant the rest of them. But I've only got about 6 started here, so I'll put 3 in each one of 2 of these 3 piles, and then I'll plant seeds next to it. But you're only supposed to have like 3 plants per pile for watermelon. So if you plant 6 seeds and all 6 germinate, you got to thin out 3 of the weaker sisters and move on, because otherwise it'll be too many plants and probably not enough fruit. All right, I got my 3 cantaloupes in the ground. Actually, there's a couple pairs of plants on these that I'll probably have to thin out later, but it turns out that when they grow up about 2 inches high like this, they have sufficient roots, and all you have to do is just barely push on the bottom of that, we'll call it plant receptacle. I don't know what you call it. They call them cells, plant cells, and then they come straight out. I do recommend that you get like a putty knife. This one happened to be too wide for these particular size cells, so I'm going to go get something a little smaller. Then you can slip in the side and kind of ease it up if it's a little root bound maybe. So now I'm going to do the same thing with the watermelons. Go ahead and get them in the ground, and then I'm going to supplement with some seeds on here because I didn't plant enough watermelons, or the other ones haven't quite come up yet. I wasn't sure how big this garden was going to be. This is going to be a massive garden, so I need more plants. All right, so I got cantaloupes planted, watermelons planted. I had 2 per pile here, so I planted seeds in the 3rd hole. Another 2 watermelons, 2 watermelons. That one lost its leaves or something. I'm not sure what it is, but I put a watermelon seed in next to it. And then 3 cantaloupes. So those are taken care of. Up here is where I'm going to plant my sweet potatoes, but I'm going to wait 1 more week. And after we get this good rain, and I'm going to plant them, maybe not quite a week, but a few days after the rain, and then I'm going to plant those. But I planted seed potatoes in this row here to go with all the seed potatoes I did up there. So corn is planted in all 8 Three Sisters piles. Got to wait 2 weeks for them to get big enough, then I can plant beans. So now I think I'll go up front and plant beans, cucumbers, peas, get them all done. And later on today, I'm going to come back here and plant my blackberries. But every day, got to knock another thing off the list because time is going by without us. This should feed a bunch of people. We'll see. I've never grown corn, so this is a first for me, but how hard can it be? So corn, beans, and squash going right here. So I had a really simple job that I just wanted to use my electric rototiller along this fence so that I can plant some blackberries. And one of my tines came off. And there's supposed to be one of these little rings with the pin, that little ring with a pin right here that's supposed to hold it on, and it fell off somewhere in here. So you can see I got 1 tine left. And you know what? I don't know where the ring is. I went and got my little magnetic pickup for like when roofers roof your house, you can go around and pick up all the screws, and I can't find it. Now I can get away with using like a cotter pin or something, but it's kind of frustrating. This is one of those simple, probably was only going to be about a 15-minute job, and now I'm ended up with a rototiller that's out of commission until I do something with it. Anyways, I got to shake the bottom of this out. It may be stuck up in the tines. I got to see if it's in there, but can't find it in the stuff I just rototilled, and I really would like to dig this down a little deeper. So every day, new adventure. I got a little buddy here that I dug out of my garden here. He's a little too small for me to see. He almost looks like he's got diamonds on it, but he's just a baby. I don't know if that's a pygmy rattler or what, but I was just rototilling this area, and lo and behold, look what I got. I don't want to mess with him too much. He's a little cold because it's cold outside. He's got like a diamond head, so it's possible. I may have to relocate him. Okay, I came up with a fix for my rototiller. I got some heavy gauge wire that I actually used for installing my fence. You need a pair of, we call them tin snips, and then some lineman pliers. What I did is I kind of folded the wire in half. I'm out here in the sun, this is hard to see for me. And then I bent the wire around and put it through the loop, and then just, I'll probably crimp that over, but that'll hold this thing in place until I can go get that replacement pin. And that'll probably last actually a long time. But you have to take these tines off occasionally because roots and things get kind of jammed up in the middle of this, and you need to clean it off. So anyways, probably killed about an hour looking for that pin and a few minutes to repair it. So we're good to go for a while.
Anyways, by the end of the day, I had my 6 blackberry plants planted and mulched, and it just got late in the day and I didn't do any video for that, but I'll show that in a subsequent video. The whole thing is starting to come to life. In fact, I started putting some mulch around the fruit cocktail trees, and you know, the little by little, every day we try to knock something off the list. I got several days of sun here, so I'm trying to take advantage of it. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope everybody's treating you well. I hope you're doing well. Do the best you can. God bless.